I always thought becoming a homeowner in a quiet suburban cul-de-sac would finally give me the peace I'd been craving. After years of apartment living, paper-thin walls, screaming kids in the hallway, and neighbors who vacuumed at midnight, I thought I had paid my dues. So when I found this cozy little house with a perfect patch of backyard facing the open breeze, I thought, yes, this is where I'll finally relax. But the one thing I didn't plan for was her. Karen. Yes, that Karen. Not just a name, a phenomenon, an ecosystem of chaos wrapped in a bob haircut sharper than a guillotine. She ran the HOA like a dictator hosting a yard sale coup. I swear she could smell rule violations from 3 blocks away. The drama started the week after I installed a small windmill in my backyard. Nothing industrial, nothing loud, just a compact, eco-friendly turbine I'd always wanted to try. It spun gracefully, made almost no noise, and saved me money. I was actually proud of it. Then came the knock, or rather the pounding. I opened the door to Karen standing there like she'd just hiked through a hurricane, hair sticking in every direction, arms flailing like she practiced dramatic pointing in the mirror. "What did you do?" she barked, stepping inside my personal space bubble like it owed her rent. "I installed a windmill," I asked, still half smiling because I thought she was joking. Her face twitched. "That thing is blowing wind directly at me. My hair looks like I went through a leaf blower." That's not how wind works," I said gently, trying to use the tone you'd use with a confused child. She gasped like I had just confessed to witchcraft. "Don't you dare mansplain wind to me. I know what I felt. Your windmill is aiming wind at my property." At this point, I genuinely thought she might need help. Maybe water, maybe an exorcist. I tried to reason with her. I explained that the windmill uses wind, it doesn't produce it. But she shook her head vigorously, snapping her fingers like she was closing a business deal with the universe. "Well, I'm going to report you to the HOA. This is an unauthorized weather-changing device." She stomped off my porch, muttering something about calling her personal officer, which I later learned meant the poor local cop who had to deal with her weekly. I closed the door, sighed. I thought that was the end. But oh no, Karen was only just warming up. 2 days later, I woke up to find a bright neon poster duct taped to my windmill. Not stapled, not glued. Duct taped like someone trying to kidnap a piece of machinery. The sign said, "Stop stealing the wind. Property of the neighborhood. Return immediately." I stared at it for a full 10 seconds. Wind. Return the wind. She wanted me to return the wind. I went to check my front yard. 3 more signs, a whole collection of them, each more unhinged than the last. Wind belongs to everyone. Redistribute the breeze. Stop hoarding nature. I was standing there, holding one of the signs, baffled, when I heard rapid footsteps, like someone speed walking for Confrontation Olympics. It was Karen. She marched toward me, wearing a reflective safety vest and carrying a clipboard like she was about to conduct a building inspection. "Good," she said. "You found my notices." "Karen, we need to talk," I began patiently. "I agree," she said, cutting me off. "And according to subsection 11, paragraph 4B of the HOA Environmental Harmony Agreement." "There is no 4B. I checked the handbook," I said. She froze mid-sentence, eyes twitching like a malfunctioning printer. "Well, then we'll add 1. I exhaled slowly. "Karen, the windmill isn't stealing wind. That's not a real thing." She jabbed her finger at me. "Then why is my patio less breezy?" I measured it with my skin. I couldn't respond for a moment because I had to mentally process the phrase, "measured it with my skin." She continued, "I've notified the neighborhood watch. I've documented wind levels, and if you don't take it down, I will escalate this." "How?" She smirked, tapping a badge clipped to her vest. A badge that read, "Neighborhood Breeze Enforcement Officer." "I made it myself," she added proudly. I realized then that I was dealing with someone whose ego was holding hands with delusion and skipping through the HOA guidelines like a fairy tale. Still, I remained calm. "Karen, you're not an officer. You can't enforce wind." Her eyes widened with faux shock. "Oh, but I can enforce HOA rules, and I will. This neighborhood's air is under my protection." Before I could reply, she turned dramatically, hair whipping in the wind, ironically from the natural breeze, and shouted, "This isn't over!" Spoiler. She was absolutely right. Please do like and subscribe. It happened on a warm Saturday afternoon. I was fixing a loose bolt on the windmill when I heard sirens. Actual sirens. 2 police cruisers rolled onto the street like we were filming a mini episode of Cops HOA edition. Karen marched behind them like a general leading troops into battle. The officers walked up to me looking confused, exhausted, and apologetic. "Are you the homeowner with the windmill?" one asked. "Yes," I said cautiously. He sighed. "Sir, we received a call about—" He checked his notebook and paused, eyebrows knitting together. "About theft of wind." I closed my eyes. I inhaled deeply. I exhaled the will to live. Karen immediately jumped in. "Arrest him. He's been siphoning wind from my property. My hair has never been the same." She shoved a folder of evidence into the officer's hands. Hand-drawn charts, blurry photos of trees not blowing, and a picture of herself with frizzy hair circled dramatically in red marker. The officers stared at the papers like they were reading hieroglyphics. "Ma'am," the second officer said, "wind can't be stolen." Karen gasped. "So you're taking his side? He's using that machine to manipulate air currents." I raised a finger. "It's literally impossible." "Don't interrupt an active arrest," she shrieked. The officer rubbed his temples. "Ma'am, there is no law against owning a windmill, and he hasn't committed any crime." Karen froze. Then she pointed at me like a villain revealing the culprit. "I knew it. You're all in on it. You're protecting Big Wind." "Big Wind," I repeated under my breath. She demanded that the officers place me in handcuffs for aerodynamic harassment. The officers politely refused. She tried again. "Fine, then arrest him for assault." "What assault?" one officer asked. Karen swung her hair dramatically. "This! His windmill caused this!" Her hair puffed outward slightly from a small breeze. The officer looked at me. I shrugged. After 10 minutes of circular arguments, escalating theatrics, and Karen nearly trying to handcuff me herself, the officers finally had enough. "Ma'am," one said firmly, "if you continue filing false reports, you may be the one facing charges." Karen's jaw dropped. She sputtered. She pointed at all 3 of us like we were a conspiracy committee. "You'll all regret this. I'll see you in court, wind court." She stormed off so dramatically I swore someone would cue thunder. The officers apologized again, shook their heads, and left. And that should have been the end. But no, this was Karen, the final boss of suburban chaos. A week later, I received a thick envelope in the mail, not from the HOA, not from the city. From Karen. She had filed a private civil complaint against me for wind theft, emotional damage caused by hair disruption, atmospheric manipulation without a permit, and my personal favorite, reckless endangerment of neighborhood breeziness. She represented herself. Of course she did. The court date arrived. I walked in with a folder of scientific facts, diagrams, and a printout from Google literally titled, "Can a windmill steal wind? No." Karen arrived with a suitcase full of papers and a cardboard display board showing photos of her hair at different angles with dramatic captions like, "Wind crime number 3 Tuesday. Victim of arrow aggression. The judge looked like he aged 5 years during her opening statement." She passionately argued her case, waving her arms like a meteorologist having a breakdown. She brought out charts, wind readings taken with a bathroom thermometer, and a mannequin head wearing a wig to demonstrate natural breeze patterns. When it was my turn, I explained calmly that windmills don't create wind, they rotate because of wind. The judge nodded. Karen gasped like I had confessed to summoning hurricanes. "Your Honor, he is lying. I have seen the wind aim itself at me after spinning off his machine." "Ma'am," the judge said slowly, "that is not how physics works." Karen slammed her hands on the table. "Then change the physics." There was silence. Deep, profound, ancient silence. The judge rubbed his face, sighed, and dismissed the case on the spot. But he didn't stop there. He issued Karen a formal warning for wasting court resources and recommended psychological evaluation for environment-related delusions. After the verdict, I expected her to explode or scream or summon a tornado. Instead, she went quiet. Very quiet. Too quiet. And that terrified me more than anything. But eventually she accepted defeat. Well, sort of. She now refuses to walk on my side of the street because, in her words, the wind there is tainted. A month later, the HOA banned her from filing complaints about air behavior, and the neighborhood actually threw a small celebration when the windmill hit 1,000 hours of clean energy production. As for me, I still enjoy the breeze every morning. And sometimes when the windmill spins just right, I swear I can hear Karen's distant scream carried through the air. "Stop stealing the wind!" And that, my friends, is how I ended up in a courtroom because my neighbor thought I was committing wind theft. Like and subscribe if you likes this video.